We got us a corpse and cartridge occasion.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I have kind of a shocking topic to talk about. I will give everyone a warning. There is going to be some heavy topics discussed in this video. So if you don't want, to be offended or anything like that, I say definitely click away. I have other content on my channel that's focused specifically on Tekken and, the game, better aspects. So go check out some of those. But for those of you who showed up here because you want an explanation, I think well, first off, I did a bunch of research. I looked at a bunch of tweets and a bunch of screenshots and just a lot of things, and I think I understand what's happening here. First off, one thing I do want to say before we get really deep into this, what I did notice is that the community, so the person who's everyone is upset, the person being canceled, their name is, where's the screenshot? So their name is Emily. Now, what I seen happening on Twitter, there was other Emilys who have nothing to do with this getting caught up in this drama. So I'm going to show a picture of the Emily's profile. This Emily is the one that is saying all of these things. If you're not looking at this Emily, then you're talking to the wrong person. So I do want to say that at first because that's one thing. This Emily person is kind of up and coming. They were starting to make a name for themselves, and I think it's kind of interesting because putting the pieces together, I kind of understand why this happened. Because everyone knows the pandemic came along and shut down the tournaments. All of the offline tournaments got canceled. Everything, Evo, all the way to the small tournaments. And what the community did and what Tekken did in order to try and keep the scene alive, a lot of the tournaments went to online. Not just Tekken, but all around the FGC. A lot of these tournaments are coming back now. They're starting to go back offline. But for a whole year and a half, tournaments were online. And I think it's very interesting because in those online tournaments, we had a lot of unnamed or unknown players show up and perform very well. There's a lot of people who haven't, I don't know if they can't travel or if they just never performed well, because that's the thing. Performing on stage is much different than performing in your room. Online versus offline is very different, and I think there's a bunch of players who performed really well in the online environment. And a lot of these guys, a lot of these players were unknown to the community. During that whole course of, the pandemic, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever, a lot of these people have been playing online, building a following, building a fan base. This person, Emily, I was looking at just briefly at what this person has achieved, and it looked like they won a lot of tournaments, probably about four or five online tournaments. I think there was one or two that was offline, but Emily was performing very well. And here's the interesting thing about this. You have Emily sort of being an unknown player, and then they are speed running a Tekken career. They're speed running becoming a professional. And what I've learned over just being a YouTuber for 2 years, what I've learned is that when you're known, you could kind of do whatever. You can say whatever, you can do whatever, and you could get away with it because you have no fan base, you have no following. But once you start building up that fan base, a lot of things come into question. People start to judge your integrity, your credibility. Are you a nice person? Just a lot of things. As you start to build your platform, people start to hold you in higher regards. That's something that I've just learned because I had a lot of hot takes in the past. It was never anything offensive, like never been racist or, sexist or anything. My hot takes usually comes in terms of balancing. I would say, oh, this character is broken. Oh, this move is broken. And then the community would be like, you don't know what you're talking about. So that's something that I've learned over the past 2 years. And I think it's interesting seeing that these people who've been performing online and now they're trying to transition into offline, how they are also trying to develop and change, right? I think change is a key word here. But Emily, let's talk more closely about this. The tweet that started it all, I personally don't know why this happened. I don't know if Emily and Shadow had a scrimmage where, or they were playing in a tournament, if they were playing, I don't know what happened to trigger this. From the looks this dialogue here, it looks like Shadow won with Kazuya and Emily did not like that. She wanted a run back, she wanted a rematch, and I don't know if it wasn't happening quick enough, or I don't know if Shadow was like, nah, one and done, get good scrub. I don't know what it, because we have very little to go off of, right? The only tweets, or the only, what is this, Discord? I think this is Discord, but the only dialogue we have is like the toxic stuff. We don't really have the build up to this, or we don't really have sort of the in-between stuff. But from what I gathered, it looked like they played a match before. I don't know if it's online or offline, tournament or scrimmage, but they played. Emily lost, and then she started being toxic towards Shadow. Now, this is why I was talking about people being unknown and then they're being thrusted into the spotlight, because this behavior is widespread throughout the community. I see all the time on the subreddit, on Twitter, where random people who are unknown players are being toxic, right? Online, you'll play Leroy Smith or you'll play Fakamon, and someone will, send you a message like, oh, the DLC sucks, and then they'll call you some crazy word. It's like, that's what this person's doing. But since this person has built up a fan base, since this person has been dominating many tournaments, they now have a reputation, and that can take a hit. For example, this person was a part of a tournament team, a org, I don't know what they call it, but Paragon FGC says, effective immediately, Emily has been released from Paragon. We at Paragon do not stand for discrimination or hate of any form, both within or our organization and throughout our communities. We take these situations very seriously. Lastly, we would like to thank you for your patience and hope for continued support. Now, that last sentence, the thank you for your patience, a lot of people were upset because Paragon was seeming to ignore it. They weren't saying anything, but then I guess Jeremy is the owner, or he's someone who's in charge there. But in his tweet, he gave a little bit more clarification. He says, apology for the delay in our response. I was on a flight and the Paragon FGC staff were waiting for my approval. So a lot of people were saying, oh, why isn't the sponsor saying anything or doing anything? These people, they have a very busy schedule. This guy was on a plane the same time one of his players is, attacking someone. So, sometimes no one expects this, right? No one expects for a person to, act crazy like this. But I think I really want to make this a clear point. It's like Emily was a lot of people still don't know who this person is. If this incident, if Shadow never sent out that tweet, a lot of people still would never know who that person was. Maybe in a couple of tournaments or something. Maybe if Emily beat like Knee or something, we would know. But they haven't really broke out that much ahead of the community. So this person was still kind of unknown, but definitely crossed that threshold of having, I don't know, I think it all just goes back to one, first off, I think there's a clear line between trash talking and toxicity. Trash talking is okay. A video that comes to mind is, I can't remember who made it, but I think it's called like The Brilliance of the FGC. And it's like a 20-minute long video or something like that. And the whole video is just like people playing Smash tournaments, Tekken tournaments, Street Fighter, and people just yelling at each other. Just like, oh, you suck, your character's this, don't ever challenge me, right? Trash talking is cool. But then when you take it away from the game and you start making it personal, it becomes toxic. That's when it becomes a problem. It's okay to say this character sucks. Oh, you play that character, you're trash too. I think that's fine. But when you start saying you're trash too and also you're this, then that's bad because you're making it too personal. There's definitely many lines here. And I mean, the community has spoken, right? This person, they lost their sponsor. Everyone's, saying good riddance, goodbye, see you next time, see you never again, actually, is what people are saying, right? And I just think this should be a lesson to everyone. If you are planning on getting in tournaments, online or offline, if you start to perform well or if you start to build a fan base, you have to shape up very, very fast. You cannot behave the same. It's about the spotlight. When the spotlight is not on you, you can do a lot. It may not be right, it's not the right thing to do, but you definitely can do a lot and get away with it. But as soon as you step into that spotlight, you win 1 or 2 tournaments, you can no longer behave like that. It's not acceptable regardless, but when you're in the spotlight, you can't do it. And Emily just failed to realize that. I think what's interesting too, things like this will always come to light. People will always search your history and see what kind of person you are, see what kind of person you was. And what's interesting about this too, I was watching The Act Man. I don't know if you guys know who that is.
Oh, you've lost credibility because you've spoke your mind. You gave your opinion. You now have no credibility with me.
No, I think you lose credibility when you talk about things that you don't really understand. And you try to pass it off as like fact, or, you know, when you say things like,
okay, bye, bitch. I don't give a fuck.
But The Act Man is a very big YouTuber. And right now he's having a kind of a beef, I would say, with another channel who is abusing copyright. It's all started because of a Elden Ring review, but that Elden Ring review was so bad that people started checking into, I think his name was like Quantum TV's history. They started to look and see what else he said. Like, if your Elden Ring review is so bad, what else have you done? When they looked at Discord and Twitter and Facebook, it was a disaster. And I think Emily is the same thing here, where one thing can be the spark, but your history will tell the truth. And it's like, my message is Emily's done for, right? Emily, she's probably not going to come back into the FGC. The things she said, the people she attacked, it's like crazy. It's like, this is what I don't understand. When people are toxic, it's like, how can you be this toxic? It's like, so Emily is trans. She's a part of the LBGTQA+, whatever it is, I don't know. But she's a part of that. But at the same time, she's being hateful against it. The logic there just doesn't make, it's kind of like, what's that, Takakana? When Takakana was being hateful towards a woman, and she's a girl herself, she's a lady herself. It's like, sometimes these people get so carried away with being hateful. How are you going to hate on the LGBTQ and you're a part of that? The logic there in some of these people just doesn't work. As I was finishing up editing this video, I checked Emily's Twitter once again just to see if there was an update. And it turns out there is. Emily just put out a tweet and a twit longer, and I want to read this because this here is going to be the conclusion of the drama. I don't know if Shadow will respond or Speed Kicks will respond, but this is it for me covering it. I will read the tweet longer, and then that will be it. It says, firstly, I want to apologize to Shadow. And that above everything he understands that I'm genuinely sorry for about what I said to him, and I regret it completely. I understand the severity of my consequences and will/have accepted them. I want to also apologize to everyone caught in the middle of this and make an apology towards them as well. Whether it was friends or people who looked up to me or anything like that, I'm very sorry for letting you all down. I'm going to be leaving behind competing in any capacity to actually try to learn how to live a normal, happy life instead of using fighting games to fuel my income and validation that I never really got growing up. I will also be deleting my Twitter in the coming days, but I want to at least keep it up this long enough for people to see it. And again, I must stress that above all, I'm sorry to Shadow and that he has a bright and happy future. So this apology to me seems like it's truthful, it's honest, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the video. Is in winning tournaments, performing good, thrusted that person into the spotlight, and their history, their baggage, everything went along with them. I'm happy that this person is acknowledging it, because I think the first step to fixing a problem is realizing that there is a problem. And I think that person has done that. I wish the best for this person. I don't know if the community will say the same. I don't know if the community will want this person to return, but there's nothing wrong with taking time to figure out your life. Life is complicated. Twitter, video games, all these things are irrelevant at the end of the day. But that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.